we will get started. Okay, so again, y'all, I'm so glad you're here. And it's just a privilege and an honor to have you in the Zoom room here in my studio. I figured out how to remove the background on a photo when I was doing this. Remember the whole tech savvy thing I just told you about? Like, I'm not great tech savvy, but I figured out how to remove the background. And so I just had to like put myself here in front of the thing because I just thought I was too cool for school. But this is what we're going to be doing this evening. The lesson that I'm going to be using is in my shop. It is in the Crayola. It's in the colored pencil on a budget section of my Teachers Pay Teachers shop. So when you go on TPT and you get on somebody's store page, if you're on my store page, down the left-hand side, you're going to see what's called custom categories. And that's where you can go to specifically find like colored pencil lessons or acrylic painting lessons. So my Crayola section is called Colored Pencil on a Budget. So just so you know where to go and how to find it. And I need to figure out how to advance this. Okay, so this is just a very little bit about me. One slide, I swear I'm not going to bore you all evening with it. I am a certified K-12 art instructor. I did spend 13 years at a very large suburban high school in North Carolina outside of Charlotte. We were up the highway from Charlotte about 30 miles in a little town called Mooresville, Lake Norman area. It was Lake Norman High School where I taught. And I was there for 13 years. Big class sizes, 2,000 kids, 35 kids in the class, that kind of thing. A large student population. And I taught beginner art all the way through AP art and design. So taught it all. Painting, drawing, foundations, AP, all the stuff. And so then in 2022, my husband and I came to Greenville, South Carolina to be next to these lovely people you see here in the upper part of your screen. And then in the lower left-hand corner of that little picture collage is my little granddaughter, Isabel, who, if you have been with me before, if you've been with me over the last couple of years, you were in workshops where I said my daughter was expecting, and you were in workshops where I said I had just left the classroom. So you've been on the journey with me. If you are just joining me on the journey, welcome. Isabel is here. I am a grandma, and I am helping care for Isabel and for all my grandmas out there on the call and on YouTube. It's a lot harder than it was 32 years ago. So grandma is tired, all right? And I'm sure you can relate if you have little ones. I also just opened a studio here in Greenville, South Carolina. We do have our own our own Instagram page. So those are my two Instagram pages. If you want to follow either one of them or both, I would welcome you to. It's been a very exciting part of the journey for me because I get back in front of students in a classroom setting. So I had my acrylic painting session last night with my my beginners. We're doing a 4-week session, and it's just so wonderful to be working with people in person again. So new chapter. Crazy nervous about it, but it's all working out really great so far. And then my Mrs. T Fox Resources IG, of course, is where you can find out all the stuff about my lessons and my professional development and all that stuff. So now I am a full-time curriculum designer and a PD facilitator, doing things like we're doing this evening. And it's just a lot of fun. It really is. It's great to be with you guys. I love my educators and have had the privilege of working with hundreds of you over the last few years, and it is a gift. I can just tell you that right now. So this is the lesson that we're going to be focusing on tonight. And if you're interested in it, the QR code is in the lower right-hand corner. Everything you get with the lesson is right here on the screen. I always suggest when you're on TPT, no matter whose shop you're in, always look at the preview prior to purchasing the product, because that's really going to tell you what you're getting. And I know we're all in a hurry, and like I would always be like flipping around and stuff, but if you really want to know what you're getting for the buck, this is the best way, is to look at the preview. So this is the preview for this lesson. This lesson focuses on Crayola. It comes with 2 video tutorials. The nice thing about having video tutorials with the lesson is if you have kids who are absent or kids who are homesick, you can just upload that to your online teaching platform and you're good to go. You don't have to reteach. So it also comes with these cute little frames that are printable, and you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, it's an instant gallery display. I am all about displaying the kids' work. I'm a huge fan of hanging everything up all over, plaster the room. If you've been in my classroom management workshops, you know that I'm all about this. And it really does help level up and motivate the students. It's just a wonderful classroom management tactic, strategy, if you will. And so it really does work. But this is great because when they're done working on this worksheet right here, they just cut out that little square when you're finished grading it, and they cut out these frames and they frame their gummy bear, and boom, you have instant gallery display. So lots of fun. And this is what we're going to use in the workshop today. So you had in your Eventbrite, you should have been able, you had two links when you went to the online, where you click on the Zoom link, there were two attachments. One is this right here. And then the other one is the sheet of the gummy bears. So this is something you can download if you want to do this with your kids. Okay, and I'm going to be using the 50 set of Crayola colored pencils. And this, you can get this set on Blick for like $7-8. Somebody else told me Target has the 50 set, I think, for $7. Amazon has it for $7. So this is just, guys, if you're doing Crayola, get the 50 set. Okay. And I'm not even an affiliate with Crayola. I have nothing to do with Crayola. All right. So I think we have one more slide. Yep. This is the last one. These are all the places that you can find me online. Okay. I'm all over the place online, but these are the places that you can find me. And like I said before, this is going to be on my YouTube. So, if you're watching on YouTube now and you didn't catch the live, welcome. Glad you're here. But these are all the places that you can find me. One quick note about the one in the bottom right-hand corner, which is my Thinkific online courses. If you are looking for content-specific professional development about drawing, about painting, about teaching drawing, teaching painting, classroom management for the art room, this may be of interest to you because all of my courses not only come with classroom resources, but they also come with certificates of completion for your admin, for your PD hours. I have never had a teacher denied PD hours for taking my courses, ever. Have had hundreds of people contact me and say, how do I download the cert? I need my hours. And I've never had anybody. I say you don't get if you don't ask. So check with your admin, but they want you to have your hours just as much as you want your hours. So that's just a quick little note about the Thinkific online courses. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, let's draw. All right. So now I'm going to go to my dot cam, which is always, just a crazy. Okay, let me fix my view here. So it's speaker view. Here we go. Okay. Everybody cross your fingers because getting the light right and getting the focus right always makes me crazy. Okay. So I'm going to put this little guy here. I am using a 2B Prismacolor turquoise pencil. I have no affiliation with Prismacolor. This is just the pencil I have on hand, but you're just going to need a graphite pencil to do a super light contour line drawing. Because we have 45 minutes, I'm going to draw him kind of small. I always suggest when you're working with your students in the beginning, I'm trying to find one of these here, with colored pencil, that you work small. So this guy right here, oh gosh, the light is terrible there. This guy right here, this is like 3 inches by 3.5 inches. Okay, and that is terrible light. So this little guy right here, I have a Hearts lesson in colored pencil. This little guy's 3 by 3. So just very small in size will prevent the burnout, and it will give the kids the confidence boost that they need. Okay, so let me get a little contour line here of this guy. Like I said, he's going to be small, and it's probably going to be a little bit hard to see him until I start to get the color on the page. And I will constantly be trying to get him in focus for you. There we go, that's better. And look, I was painting in my class last night and I have paint on my fingernails. That's classy. Okay. So let me, at this point, by the time my kids would get to colored pencil, it would be number 6 in the scaffold. I teach everything on a scaffold, and drawing is no different. So they would have this would be number 6. It would be unit number 6. First unit is line, second unit is shape, third unit is negative space, fourth unit is value, fifth unit is white colored pencil on black paper, and the sixth unit in the 18-week semester is colored pencil. So that takes you all the way through. And so when I say all that to say that by the time we get to this little guy, they know how to draw him. Nobody's panicked about actually drawing him. There's this little shadow. He is going to be tiny, but we want to get as much done here as we can. So that is always something to consider, especially when you're working with mixed level classes, middle school, kids nowadays, man, they have an attention span of like 2 seconds. So if they're not confident in what they're doing, I was just talking with an educator yesterday, and she said, they don't want to do it because they're not confident. And the more we talked, the more she's like, okay, I think I need to back up, and I think I need to cover a few more things before I tackle this one thing we were discussing. Okay, so here is my little gummy bear. And the basics with Crayola is you want to have paper that's nice and meaty. You want to have paper that has some tooth to it. This is a Canson XL mixed media paper. The Hobby Lobby mixed media paper is one of my favorites, and I ran out. But something with some meat and some tooth. You don't want to be doing this on computer paper because the high level of wax in the Crayolas is just going to make it slide around, and it's going to be harder. Let me adjust my chair here. It's going to be harder for the kids to blend. So those are the basics as far as the type of paper. My wiener dog is rolling around on the floor right now, and he's already been out and had his dinner. So if he starts cutting up, oh my gosh, this will not be good. All right, so I'm not going to call out every single color that I use, but this is magenta, and it's a cool color. It's a cool pink. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to lay out my dark values. The other thing that you need to consider is this is lesson number 3 in a scaffold with colored pencil. Here's a side note about the scaffolding stuff. On my YouTube, there are already 4 webinars that you can watch, if you want to, where I actually describe like why I scaffold in a certain, sequence, and what each lesson entails as far as what the learning target is. So that may be something you're interested in, but they always do the value scales and the spheres before they do this little guy. And this little guy precedes their final project. So they have to really and if you're drawing along with me, I'm going to drop my email address in the chat. And I would absolutely love it if you would email me a picture of your gummy bear, because I would love to put a shout out on my social media of the workshop. And okay, I said my email. So it is tjfox5050@gmail.com. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the values, the darker areas in our gummy bear, and I'm just putting this nice little light, soft layer. Light and soft is the name of the game, especially with Crayola. Remember that high wax content? If they start pressing down really hard in the beginning, this is what always throws people off with Crayola. They're like, oh, Crayola's crap. I can't do anything with it. Well, it's just that if they slow down and they lighten up their layers, and they really learn to cover the paper and the areas nice and smooth, then that's when you get the beautiful, rich colors. There's also a free Crayola workshop with the bare bones basics of Crayola on my Thinkific. So that's a free workshop as well that you can, if you haven't had enough of listening to me go on and on, if you're like, you know what, this chick is fascinating. Yeah, right. But if you're more interested when this is over and you're like, I'd like to know a little bit more, on my Thinkific, there's the free webinar. And then, of course, with the resources, you get all the tutorials. So you get this exact kind of a thing for the kids to watch. And I do a lot of fast forward and time lapse in between explaining what I'm doing in the videos so that they're only about 7 to 8, 9 minutes long. So the kids, they're not like, bored to death and signing off before it's even over. I found that 7 to 9 minutes is like the sweet spot for them. So lots of trial and error during my career as to, what really worked and what didn't and what I needed to shift and change. And so that's what has brought me to where I am right now. So see, he's already showing up and we've only used this one color. All right, Alicia has a question. Alicia, yes, I would definitely give everybody their own set and I would check it out to them. I would check that set out. I would probably throughout the class and only break up. No, I would have them use the Crayolas for the color unit. Like honestly, you could do your whole color unit with Crayola if Prismas are, outside of your budget. Of course, if you can afford Prismas, by all means, use Prismas. But they're really going to get the feel for the color and they're going to produce something gorgeous no matter what brand you use. It's not about the brand. It's about the paper and it's about the pressure and the application. This is one thing I know for sure. I'm a color pencil artist. I've been doing this for years. And when the pandemic came along and everybody had to go home, I had never really used Crayolas before. And a lot of my educators were contacting me and they were saying, hey, I'm sending kids home, but all they have is Crayola. Can you get a few lessons going? And so I did. And here's what I discovered. I discovered that Crayola was giving me some pretty cool results and the color was pretty rich and gorgeous. And so I just made a whole series of lessons and I was very pleasantly surprised. So I am out here in the shadow, just laying out the darkest area with the base of this magenta. If I'm using Prismacolors, I like to use the Parma Violet because it's just my favorite purple in Prismas. But for these purposes, this magenta is pretty nice. Crayola doesn't have a super light violet in any of their sets up to 50. I don't know about it larger than that. So, oh, Jay Roberts, magenta is a cool color. And again, this is further explained in the value scale lesson, but we do all the dark values in a cool color. You could do green, you could do blue, but because our guy is orange, I was going to stay kind of in the analogous area of this reddish purple, because what it's going to do underneath is it's going to make the oranges that much more beautiful. All right, so I'm going to take this is called Orchid, this color, and I'm going to just go into the super, super dark areas with this Orchid. I'm doing little tiny circles. Guys, if I don't answer your question right away and you ask one, it's just because I'm only looking up periodically. It's not because I'm ignoring you. I promise, I promise. I need like a tech person managing my chat. I'm not that fancy yet. One day. So this is Orchid. Again, it's a dark purple. It's gonna come down here. It's gonna mix with this magenta. It's gonna be gorgeous. I'm doing kind of a long oval stroke. I always suggest and have the kids not hatch or cross hatch, especially with Crayola, because it is so heavy in the wax content. Once they get enough wax on the paper won't take any more wax. So then it will just slide around and it won't mix. Because we want optimal mixing, we want light layers. Think about I always say to them, think about a paper towel that's being filled up like with ink. You know, it's only going to take so much absorbency. It's pretty much the same thing with the paper. Here is the one thing that I discovered when I was making these videos with Crayola. Because the wax content is so high, you don't have to sharpen them as much. They don't wear down like the Prismas do because they got a lot of wax in them. So who knew, right? That would be a little added bonus. You know, we're always thinking, oh, it's a bad thing. No, it's pretty cool. They last a lot longer. You know, you can wear Prismas down in no time. They're so buttery. And I'm kind of avoiding the little highlight spots, kind of working the negative space. Oh, Jody. Sorry. Okay. Oh, yeah. Analogous. I love analogous. I love it. I love it. I just did a little monsters color theory lesson, even watercolor with analogous color schemes. Oh, I love to say analogous too. I don't blame you. I'm so glad you're joining me. I think we're going to luck out too. I think Willie went to sleep. Poor little guy. He's 14. He has definitely gotten a little tired over the years. Okay, so I'm going to finish up with these, just putting this over the darkest parts. So see, we're already getting our form and we've only used 2 pencils with a very light contour. So we already have our little guy here. And so now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get what is this guy? Well, he's yellow orange. Let's just lay a nice little glaze over everything. Wait till you guys see what this does when this orange, when it goes over this magenta and this orchid. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Colored pencil is just magical. It really is. And if you can get your kids hooked on it, kids get totally hooked on it. My kids got so hooked on it that all they wanted to do was colored pencil, and they would do these gigantic 19 by 24 pieces by the time they got to AP. Now, I didn't have the lower levels do that because it's just, you need so much bandwidth for a piece that size, but they just got addicted. And it was awesome to see because it's a medium that a lot of people they don't really teach it just because it's so labor intensive. And it's totally understandable, you know, not teaching it, especially if you have gigantic classes or if you have mixed level classes, you know, where you've got a lot going on. Totally understandable. You know, you've got to survive this roller coaster that we call education. But if you have the opportunity to teach it and really get them hooked on it, oh, they're just going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to love to see what they can do. You will be so excited. So we're basically focusing on edges and values. So we have some crisp edges here. We got soft edges within our shadow, and we want to pay attention to that. And when they do the sphere, they do the value scales, then they do the sphere. So when they do the sphere, that's when they work on the soft transition. And that's when they work on really making something look 3-dimensional. So they're taking the shape to the form with the transition of value. And what they're learning in the value scales is how to mix tint, shade, tone. Now, we don't use black colored pencils in any of my lessons. So we call a shade a tone, but, you know, interchangeably we use that word. And when they make their black, of course, they just make it with all the dark, cool colors. We call it our chromatic black. And I'm going to stay out of this bright yellow area. I'm just going to sort of work the negative space around it so that it's nice and bright when I add the yellow. So instead of trying to add the yellow on top, you know, working everything dark, and because what you're going to get is just a milky yellow, and you don't want that. And I use the AFMAT electric pencil sharpener, which I don't know if y'all have ever heard of it. Got it. You can get it on Amazon. Again, I am not an affiliate, just telling you about the good pencil sharpener. It's awesome for colored pencils. It does not get jammed up and it doesn't get gunky. And it actually doesn't have that offensive of a sound. You know, some of them, oh my gosh, it's just like a hot poker through your brain. But not this one. All right. So we've made our pass with our yellow orange, and we're kind of little bit, we're losing our darks. So we're going to put them back in with, oh, let's see. What are we going to put them back in with? How about if we put them back in? No, we used that already. How about we put them back in? Oh, let's go with this. This is fun. This is, what is this? This is light blue. And you know, blue's the complement of orange. So it is going to do a nice job when we finally get our oranges on top of giving us the final value that we want. But periodically, you just got to put the cools back in so that you get the darker values back, or it'll just all start to blend together and you can't see anything. So you can see how that's already bringing him back. So y'all got to promise me that you're going to send me a picture of your gummy bear if you're drawing with me. We're going to go ahead and put this out in the outside. And if you're watching this on YouTube and it's after the fact and you draw a gummy bear, you better send it to me at tjfox5050@gmail.com. Send me your gummy bear. I just love to see people succeed. I was telling a group of educators, that's my new drug of choice. Watching people succeed, helping people succeed. So this is my light blue. I said I wasn't going to call it all the colors, but I don't know, maybe I will. It's not proving to be so problematic that I can't do it. And I did drink coffee right before this. So that'll probably be coming back to haunt me later. My sleep, my lack thereof. That's all right. It's for a good cause. Okay, so here I'm going to come back down around here. We're going to put our light blue. So now my darks are coming back. We got our darks back. So the darks kind of disappear and then you bring them back and then they disappear and then you bring them back and you're just layering and layering. If they're doing something small like this on the worksheet, because I always make them do the worksheet, they do the gummy bears, usually make them do 2 gummy bears, a cool one and a warm one. And then just so they can get the feel for both, you know, so they don't just gravitate, you know, some people just always gravitate to the same colors, we want them to stretch. And then what we do is the candy lesson. So this is the precursor to the candy lesson. And on my Instagram, I just posted a candy lesson post and you can see some of the student work, but oh man, is it fun? And they love it. I mean, who doesn't love candy? Kids especially. Oh, awesome. I am so glad that you have the colors, Jody. And so I'll just keep saying them. I'll keep saying them. Okay, so let's put some orange in here. And this is orange, just straight orange. I'm blurring my edges in my shadow with little circles. I'm not pressing any harder. With colored pencil, when you press harder, you don't get a darker color, you get a more intense color. The only way you're going to get something darker is to blend it with other colors. So in this case, our cool darks, our magenta and our orchid. It's a very translucent medium. So I see I'm working around toward this yellow sort of a triangle reflection thing. It's very translucent colored pencil. It's sort of like watercolor that way. And the idea is that when you use it, by the time you get to the last layer and you press down for that waxy finish, that you can see all the colors bouncing to the surface. When I do the skin tones workshop, everybody's just like the oohs and the ahs from when we get the undertones in the skin and then they get the final layers. It's just gorgeous, because skin is very translucent as well. So this is a great medium for portraits. Great medium for portraits. So when we did that workshop, it was so much fun. All right, so this is taking shape with our orange. We're putting it right on top of our cool colors. And then we're going to come over here. Again, I'm staying out of that yellow highlight where the light's bouncing off of him. I took all these pictures of these gummy bears myself at school outside in the sunlight, which is why I got this gorgeous reflection. So much fun. And it was hot. So they were kind of starting to get sticky and melt, but I can still see that day and so much fun. The kids were like, "Oh my gosh, Fox, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm taking pictures of what you're going to draw. Like, leave me alone." They were always on board, like whatever the latest craziness was. And I had a lot of crazy. I mean, I had them drawing some pretty crazy stuff. The bar was high. There's no doubt about it. Okay. So now let's grab, this is a mahogany, and I'm going to go over this dark area up here. I'm still not pressing hard, just adding this layer. But see how it's starting to get this really pretty translucent glow because we're blurring the edges of the values and the hues. We're layering everything nice and evenly. And we're taking our time, and he's small. This is the nice thing about working small. Nobody's intimidated when you work small. And when you're hanging in progress work up daily, which is, like I said, one of my favorite classroom management strategies, you get a lot more quality and a lot less inactivity because they know that whatever they're doing is not going in a cubby at the end or on a shelf, but it's going on the wall, on display for the whole world to see. And we do it all semester. We do it with every project from the very beginning when we do IM boards, family album, all that stuff, all those collaborative altered books. It doesn't matter how we start the semester. I explain from day one that at the end of class, your work is going on the board. And it makes taking attendance a piece of cake because when everybody's in their seat with their work, you just look at the board wherever their class posts their work, and whoever's left on the board is not there. They're either tardy or they're sick. So it's really cool. And I have teachers contact me all the time. If it's just talking to one the other day who was like, I put the work on the board and all of a sudden everybody was working harder. I was like, yep, works every time. All right, so we're with this mahogany now and you're only going over the super dark areas. Like you're not going to put the mahogany in here because that hue, that value is lighter. So it's a little bit of a thinker. Like they have to really focus on, all right, what is the hue? This is why we do this at the end of the semester, because they have value down pat. They have transitions down pat from these other lessons like the shoe frenzy and the curly paper and all that business. And all they're really having to learn at this point, they know how to draw, they know how to scale up, they know how to render, they know how to create something out of shapes, all that stuff. You don't have to teach any of that. That's already under their belt. All we have to deal with here is the colored pencil technique. If you teach this first without any of the other stuff, if they don't know any of the other stuff, then you got to back up and teach it all. So that's why scaffolding it's really beneficial. I've always found it to be just the strongest way that I could build the skills and the confidence, because it's not just skills, it's confidence. They've got to buy in, they've got to understand and know that you know that if they do this first, whatever they do after this is going to build on. So, when they know that, they're like, oh, okay, well, we must be doing this for a reason, or we wouldn't be doing it. So it's that mindset. Okay. So it's my mahogany. You know what? I think I'm gonna find the yellow orange. Where is the yellow orange? What is this? This is not yellow orange, that's peach. All right, yellow orange, where are you? That's orange. Watch me not even have it in here. That would be really embarrassing. There's like 50 oranges. Oh, what's this? Is this it? Oh, yes, this is yellow orange. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is what I wanted. So I'm going to come in here into these like mid-tones, if you will. Let's put a little layer of this because I'm going to try to bring this guy around. Usually the demo is longer. Like when I do the full-on workshops, that have all the resources and everything. If you watch some of those on Thinkific, you're going to be like, oh man, that's like way longer than the one she did on YouTube. But we have got to respect your time. So as I'm moving the colors, as I'm pushing these colors, and I'm sort of like getting into the edge of this dark area, what I'm doing is I'm kind of, for lack of a better word, I'm massaging the pencil into the tooth of the paper. And you can feel the wax underneath that you've already put on in the dark areas. And you're kind of pulling it up and mixing it in. And that's what's given us this cool little transition right here, this translucent appearance. Was the way we used to call it floating color. I would say to the kids, you're going to float this color in this area and you're going to float it in another area. So it's all about the sensory aspect of the pencils and how they hit the paper. So it's more than just, you got to work from dark to light or light to dark, or you have to understand how the pencil affects the paper. You have to understand how the medium is going to function before you can manipulate the medium into doing what you want it to do. So we talk a lot about how do we manipulate the medium and how do we understand what the medium is going to do. No, this is yellow orange. This isn't orange. So this is a totally different color. And yes, you do go back and forth depending on where you want to be, but there's no set formula. The formula, you work backwards from the formula. So if this is a really super dark area out here, then I'm going to want to layer a bunch of dark colors, cool colors, and the reds until I get to this value right here. And you might get to it. The cool thing about colored pencil is it's a very customized experience. No two kids are going to layer the same set of colors in the same way ever. So some people are going to make really rich greens and some people are going to make really rich reds. It's fascinating to watch it happen. And everybody's going to have their own little spin. Okay, so I just was talking about this shadow area. So I'm going to lay a little bit of this. This is blue. And I'm going to lay a little bit of this in here. Remember, we don't use black because it's achromatic and it will kill your colored pencil drawing so fast. It will suck the life out of your colored pencil drawing. I make the kids take them out of the box as soon as we open them, and they hand them to me. No black pencils. I had a lady in an adult class one time tell me she had done this gorgeous portrait. I mean, it was beautiful. Okay, wait, I'm going to go back to my orchid because I want to build this and make it nice and dark. I can find my orchid. Here we go. Nope, this is my, what is this? This is my maroon. Oh, this is a cool color. Let's put this on top of this blue. And she did the whole portrait. It was fabulous. She did the clothing, all of the blending, all of the rich, beautiful color. And she said, you know what? The lady had black hair in the portrait. And she said, I'm just going to use black colored pencil. And I said, well, you can do whatever you want. I said, but you're going to be very disappointed. And she didn't believe me. And she cried. She came back. She went home. She did it. She came back. She's like, I can't believe I did this because it was just this flat black hair against all of this rich, gorgeous color building. Oh, it was so sad. All right. We have 12 minutes left. So here's what I'm going to do, just so you can see part of this little guy come to fruition. I'm going to focus on the center right here, and I'm going to build him out. So this is my maroon. I need this to get dark. So I need pencil colors that are going to help me get to that value. But I also want him to be rich and dimensional in color. So that's why I'm choosing these dark cools. And then as soon as it's dark enough, I am pressing a little bit harder at this point, just a little bit, so we can get the waxiness in. And then we're going to, let's see here. See, I always say I'm just going to stay in one area and then I can't do it. All right, let me grab my regular red. I know I saw it in here. I know I did. I think this is it right here. Yes, this is red. So now I'm going to come in here. So on top of my maroon, on top of my orchid, on top of my blue, we have this beautiful red. Let's see if we can get some of the shine off of that. There we go. Let's see. There we go. That is the only problem with the video component. If you have the light on, you get that shine off of the wax. Let's put a little bit of red up here. And when they work small, even when they do their candy, it's small. It's maybe 6 by 6, especially if it's an intro class. If you attempt like a 12 by 18 or an 18 by 24 colored pencil piece with kids who are beginners, very few of them will have success with it. When you go to my YouTube webinar about teaching colored pencil and how you scaffold it, I just learned the hard way that they need the confidence, but they'll burn out. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot of acreage to cover for this medium. All right, so I'm going in here, putting my nice reds over those foundation layers. They're the little helping layers that help this get darker. All right, I'm going to grab my orange again, come in here, because this is a nice soft transition. Let's float some of this orange. Hey, he's so pretty. Such a pretty little guy. And the thing that you want to avoid is only having one color in any area. You want this to be a group effort. You want all these guys working together. Let's grab a yellow. We're going to go ahead and put our yellow in here. Just light them up on the side over here. Put our yellow in here. And we're going to put our yellow over here. The videos that are in the lesson are done with my iPhone, and they are much crisper. I'm hoping that this is crisper than what I'm seeing. I have a pretty large monitor, so I'm wondering if mine's just not quite as. I always worry about the video quality. I worry about everything. I just want it to be a good experience for you. Okay, I'm going to stick some orange in here, right in this area. And see, he's getting so colorful and so dimensional. We're getting the translucency. We're getting that whole gummy look with these soft edges between the values and the hues. So it's a hue, it's a value, and it's a transition. Those are the three things that we really want to focus on when we're working in colored pencil. Okay, here's my maroon again. I'm just going to darken this a little bit over here. I know, remember how I said I was going to stay in the middle? Oh my gosh. Of course she didn't stay in the middle. Tiff. And it's a very zen process. I always sell it that it's relaxing, that you're going to be just thrilled with your results. You're going to be so happy if you never take another art class as long as you live. You're going to leave with a really cool set of drawings. I used to have seniors get stuck in my class. They got to have that art credit, and they come in thinking that they're just going to spin their wheels, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I could draw, and I had no idea how well I could draw, and look what I did. And I actually had a student one time, he did this huge, I mean huge, he insisted on doing his candy piece huge, and it actually wasn't candy, it was ice cream in full color. It's on my Instagram somewhere, but he of course didn't finish it. It was a spring semester. He went to college, and in the spring semester of the following year, he finished it and sent me a picture, and I put it on my Instagram. And we're talking like 9 months, almost a year later. And his name was Michael, and it was absolutely stunning. But he was another one, he just kind of got stuck in there. And once he got addicted to colored pencil, okay, this is a color called raspberry. He did these cool things and then went to college. He said when everybody else was out, acting a fool, he would just sit at his desk and work on his piece, and it's gorgeous. And he actually took the reference photo. It was rainbow ice cream, and he had it in these beautiful glass containers. You know what? I'm going to find it, and I'm going to post it on Instagram. I know I posted it when he sent it to me. But, just another one of those cases where once they figure out they can do it, they just get so excited. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my mahogany, and I'm going to go up here, where I said I wasn't going to go. Go up here. I'm going to come into my shadow a little bit. So I'm just going very tiny circles, blending everything in. They don't need a colorless blender. If you give them a colorless blender, they're going to put two colors on and they're going to blend the crap out of it. They're going to go right through the paper. I only allowed the colorless blenders if my advanced AP kids wanted them, and they didn't even want them. Once they saw that what they did was they filled up the tooth of the paper so fast they couldn't add any more pencil, and they quickly abandoned the colorless blender. And if you really want to see some awesome colored pencil work, there's a bunch on my Pinterest. There's a bunch on my website. And every single one of those kids had no experience with colored pencil before my class. So it's definitely doable for anybody who's willing to put the time and the technique in. All right, fabulous people. We have 3 minutes left. We got pretty far on this guy, considering. There is an orange gummy bear Prismacolor tutorial that's also on my YouTube. So if you want to, if you haven't had enough of watching me draw an orange gummy bear, that one's in Prismacolor. And it's all the way to the finish. And then I explain all the good with that one too. But I just appreciate you guys joining me.